Hello everybody. Welcome to the stream where we're going to have a little bit of a natter all about the lovely game of football that happened yesterday where Leeds United faced off against Villarreal, who are a fairly damn solid side. Like, it was before kickoff yesterday that I was in the ground and I was like, I can't quite remember who Villarreal's players are. I'll have a little bit of a listen to like the teams being announced, because normally when it's the other side, you're just like, I don't particularly care too much. I'm not that bothered. Fair enough. They had far better footballers than I thought they did, and it kind of showed a little bit. But I think we held our end of the bargain, the fight, the combat, all that kind of shenanigans pretty damn well, and I was kind of happy with the performance. But that's what we're here to discuss, and we are also here to discuss the little bit of information that Daniel Farke gave us after the match in the press conference. But first, I'm just going to hop in some comments. Hello there, Jonesy. Hello there, Tony. And Crazy Elf met Darlow yesterday. Absolutely wonderful. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was a good time. 1 second. I'm just going to see if I can get the squads and everything up. So, for an idea of the side that we played against, because we were going into it being like, I'm not too sure what Villarreal are going to come up against us with. It was pretty damn good. Juan Foyt at centre-back is a little bit spooky. Gerard Moreno is a very, very good player. We all know this. Yeremy Pino is an up-and-coming winger in Spain. If it weren't for Lamine Yamal, I think he'd still have a lot more hype around him. Do pretty okay, Dave. Thank you. How about you? Nicola Pepe, who I completely forgot is still a footballer. Yeah, it's a very, very strong side on the Villarreal end, and I thought we'd be in a bit more trouble than we were, and I think we look relatively comfortable by comparison. Do we know why Perry didn't play? Because we signed him with a little bit of an injury niggle, and he's not quite worked that off yet. I think Daniel Farke said something about it afterwards. I'm going to bring up that Twitter thread very quickly, just so I can have a proper look at it. That's his name, yep. Sorry. Apologies to Baron Cross, I slightly forgot your name for a moment there. What did he say on Perry? Perry is with us since the end of the training camp. Light injuries, no team training, a few days of rehab. The first days were difficult for him after signing. Back in goalkeeping training for the last few days. Tomorrow and next week he'll be back in team training, which is what we know of Perry. I think we'll see Lucas Perry against AC Milan, which should be quite fun and good. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. But yeah, when it comes to the way that our team performed, I was pretty okay with it. I'm going to work through our team a little bit later to sort of like talk through how I think everyone did. But we need to address Daniel Farke's comments first, in which he said, in the offence, we are not ready for Premier League level. We have to make sure we have a competitive squad by latest the first international break. For a little bit of context for you, immediately after the transfer window closes, it's the international break. So that makes sense. It's just by the end of the window, we need the squad in the best place possible. He's saying we can't wait until... Come on, Brian, where have you gone? There we go. Can't wait till January. We need to get it done soonish. And he's right. Like, this fully explains why we were throwing everything behind getting Paixão, why there's so many rumours surrounding the Muniz move, why there's a lot of conversation around El Canous now. Because we know that in terms of progression, we're missing a little bit. And I'll go into that in a little bit more detail further on in the stream. But in terms of position by position, I don't know whether I want to do like a full player ratings thing, or if I want to just sort of like talk about people as they pop up in the chat. As it comes to it, I wouldn't say it was a lackluster performance. I'd say it's a performance that is what the reality reflected. It's a performance that says our starting right back wasn't there. Down the right-hand side, our sort of ability to penetrate their backline struggled quite significantly. And a lot of that, in my opinion, was down to the lack of Bogle. And the fact that Brendan Aronson was playing out of position. For me, and this I know is a controversial opinion among some people, because we've had this conversation amongst various people in the YouTube space. But for me, I kind of feel like Aronson might have been my man of the match in that one. Because he did a hell of a lot of work, both going forwards and backwards. He effectively did half of Isaac Schmidt's defensive stuff. I was very, very happy with the way that Brendan Aronson played yesterday. And I know a lot of people might not be. But I kind of liked him. He was clumsy in the way that Aronson always is, but whenever he was clumsy enough to make a mistake, he always sought to fix it, which is what you kind of want to see. Like, he had the enterprise about him, he had the energy, he had the oomph. He looked like someone that was playing for a place in the starting 11, and that's really what we want to see at the moment. Good morning, Elmi. I hope you're doing well. Leeds need the creative spark going forward, either El Canoes, Hamer, or another X Factor? Oh, as in X Factor. Right, okay. Player like Rafa. Yeah, we need someone that's got a little bit of a zing to him, I feel. He played better than he does when he's in the middle. I think so as well, yeah. He seems a lot more comfortable when he's in those wide areas, which is a good thing to see. I enjoyed it. But I still feel like, whilst he was my man of the match, we were very much missing Dan James. I think having Dan James in that side gives us that little bit of oomph, that little bit of verve and pace. Because Aronson isn't someone that is going to like kick a ball past a man and just chase it and know that he's going to be the first to that. He's someone that is going to sort of have to try and work his way around a defender, and if it doesn't work out, he's like, okay, I'll pass it backwards. He's not as direct as Dan James, and I think we're missing a bit of that directness yesterday. Again, this isn't digging him out or anything, because I think he had a pretty damn good game of football yesterday, but I very much did not think Isaac Schmidt played well. Everything that I saw from yesterday terrified me about Isaac Schmidt. There was one point, because I was sat in the east stand, but on the north side, towards the end of the first half, where Isaac Schmidt is facing off against a man, and he gets so easily nutmegged. Like, as if he's not there. And it's Aronson's tracking back that means that doesn't lead to a bigger problem. I also, right, this is a weird one. And I'm not going to run a poll on it because I think it's a weird thing to run a poll on being a pre-season friendly, but I kind of want everyone's opinion. Can you pop a 1 in the chat if you think the ref had a little bit of a stinker, and a 2 in the chat if you think he did alright? Because as far as I could tell, the referee was horrible. There were so many times where it's like you'd give a foul for one thing, you wouldn't give a foul for an identical thing 10 yards away the other way round. I think in a competitive game of football we have at least one penalty from that match, which is why I'm not too mad about that, because I think we're in an okay spot. Yeah, it feels like a lot of people weren't a fan of the refereeing in that one, which is quite interesting. Morning, if Man United are willing to sell Højlund for 30 million, we should try to get him. I don't think so. I think what we saw from Højlund last season and what we realistically need to do with our own squad, Højlund doesn't fit that. For me, if we end up signing someone like Erasmus Højlund, that is a massive mistake. Like, sure, he's fit forward and he occasionally gets goals, but let's have a look at his numbers from last season. Because at the same time, he's not the most creative player. So he scored 14 goals in 62 matches for Scum, which isn't brilliant, let's be honest. But at the same time, he's not got the sort of... He's not bringing others into the game either. So I think Højlund would be a mistake for us to consider signing. A significant mistake. Because if people are like, well, he can finish, so can Piru. And I would argue that Piru already knowing the system is a further benefit in his favour. I'm not saying that Joel Piru is a better player than Rasmus Højlund, but I'm saying that at the moment for our squad, he's the better option. Is Muniz any better? He's different, that's the thing. I think Muniz is more of a creator, and he's a little bit more lethal than Højlund. We can't blame the ref. I'm not blaming the ref straight up, because I know that we're missing quite a lot, but it was more of a question of, I don't think that result is really reflective. Because I'm still firmly of the opinion that we should have had a penalty. And there were many times in that match where I was like, mate, I know it's a friendly, but somehow, some way, you are losing control of this game of football. And at one point, he lost control of a friendly, because to the extent that he had to give a yellow card for dissent. And it's like, if you've allowed things to boil up to the level where you're having to hand out yellow cards in a friendly match, maybe, just maybe, you've not quite managed the game well. Moon is not worth 40 million. It's a... Well, that's kind of the question, though. Because if people are willing to pay it, then it kind of is. Like, football is the weirdest place. Because at the same time, Højlund isn't worth 30. If you look at most strikers in the Premier League and you say 14 goals in 62 matches, especially for a side that creates a good amount of chances, it's probably not great, is it? Like, in his career, he has scored a grand total of 32 goals. Which, again, I know he's only 22, but come on. It was a good challenge versus a Champions League team. This is another thing that people are kind of forgetting. So last season, Villarreal finished 5th in La Liga. Because of how strong La Liga is in the European competitions, they now have 5th place with the Champions League spot, similar to the Premier League, because of where they are in terms of UEFA coefficient. Which ain't the worst of signs, to be honest with you. As far as opposition goes, the fact that we're against a team that consistently play European football, are in the Champions League this season, and in their most recent run of matches, right? I'm going to read you through their final 6 matches of last season. Beat Espanyol, beat Osasuna, beat Girona, beat Leganes, beat Barcelona, beat Sevilla. It's kind of good. That's kind of terrifying. I've got to be honest with you. And if you're having a look at... I'll have a look at what they've done this pre-season so far, but it is vastly the same side. Which, in my opinion, is sort of a note to think, maybe, just maybe, that's a very, very, very good team. And I'm not going to be mad with a draw. Not in the slightest. Let's have a look at their pre-season results. Okay, admittedly, they've had a stinky pre-season. But then again, it's fine. Fuck it. We did the job. First half was better than the second. Aronson was brilliant. I think that midfield in the first half will be the one versus Everton. I think so as well. I'm a little bit... So in terms of system, right, we're going to go over to Canva for a bit. Because I noticed something. So can someone remind me of the starting 11? It was Darlow, it was Strauch, it was Rodon, then it was Schmidt, then on the left was Gudmundsson, Stack, Ampadu, Longstaff, which was the midfield that I called, which I'm quite proud of. Then out on the right was Aronson. Out on the left was Nonto. And then was Mecha. Cool. Right, so let's F11 it and zoom in a touch. So this was the first half lineup, which was fair enough. We saw Stack sitting a little bit deeper. He led the press a couple of times, which I quite liked. Longstaff was also sort of hanging out. I might do some cheeky little player ratings, actually. I don't know. I'm tempted. But we'll see as we go. But this was the rough look for the first half. It was a straight-up 4-3-3, in my opinion, with Longstaff playing a little bit in front of Stack and Ampadu, but I will be honest, Longstaff didn't impress me too much. He seemed a little bit lost at points, so I give him roughly like a 6 or something. Like, he didn't make any egregious errors, but there were points where it was sort of like, I'm not hugely overwhelmed. But then again, he's a new player at the club, so I don't mind too much. Darlow, fair enough. I'm going to give him, like, 7.5. He did everything that was asked of him. I was tempted to give him an 8 because of that save at the last moment that he was on the pitch, but I have chosen not to. Because reasons. Because fuck you. Gudmundsson, I liked. I think he was fun down his flank. A bit junior Furpo-y, likes to go for a wander. Got absolutely flattened by Melier at one point as well. I'm going to go with a 7.2 for him because I really liked him. And since I'm doing points, I'm going to give Longstaff a 6.1. Aronson. $8.2. I liked Aronson. Aronson was good. Stack impressed me as well. I'm going to go with a flat 7 on Stack because he didn't impress me as much as Goodmanson did. Ampadu, I think, did a lot of good work. So I'm going to go with a 7.3. I also think he played the full 90, maybe? I wouldn't call me that, Carl, if that's okay, thank you. 8.2, so surely 8.27 at least. Right, okay, I'll do you one better. 8.271. Ha! Rodon, I think, did an impeccable job. Rodon was very, very good at centre-back. I'll go with like a 7.8 or something because he made very few mistakes. Stroke, I can't remember much of Stroke in the first half because he just quietly got the job done, so I'll go with a flat 7. Nonto made me sad at points. Wasn't great. Mecha was good when he was able to actually do anything. But again, he didn't really get into the game much. Isaac. Isaac. I didn't like Isaac Schmidt. Because he looked like he couldn't be arsed. A lot of the time. I don't know if it came through on the telly, but he spent a lot of time out of position. That feels right just because he didn't do enough. Schmidt was better in the second half. Fine. I'll say that he had a 1 point better second half, so it raises it by a half. Stack looked great in the highlights. Was he not that good? I mean, 7 isn't bad. 7 is decent. But it... Alright, fine. Because I think he was a bit better than Strouk, but he wasn't as impressive as Goodmanson. Then, who came on? Piru, who I think changed the game quite nicely. I want to go with like a 7.5 on him. Lovely seeing you too, Lucy. Come on, words, where have you gone? Lovely seeing you too in the Peacock. Ramazani looked fairly lively. I enjoyed him. He didn't get on the ball that much. So I'm going to go with like a 7.1. Because what he did quite well, but he didn't do too much. What the fuck are you talking about, Gary? In the nicest way possible. When he changed shirt and went by Byram. Very good point. I completely forgot about that. Yeah. So long. Even Byram wasn't brilliant, but... Byram, I'm going to go like a 6.8. Because there were a few times it looked like they were trying to push him onto his left, and instead of trusting himself on his left, he just sort of got spooked. Which isn't the best spot to be in. Right, I'm going to clear this up with the power of democracy. Let's have a vote. What do people think? There was also a notable shift, right, in the second half. And I think it's a shift that needs to be popped down on the big whiteboard thing. So if I do this, right. I don't know why that dot hasn't followed, but that's fine. And I say that Longstaff came up for Gruev, right? Yeah, I think so. Who I think genuinely did quite well. I'll give him a flat 7. But we changed system in the second half. Was Tanaka for Stack? I think Tanaka was for Stack. Tanaka looked really lively as well. I think he was just as good as Stack. So Ampadu, I think, dropped in with Longstaff / Gruev in this case. and Tanaka doing this. So I think the system changed up a bit to be more of a 4-1-4-1. And I quite liked that. It felt BLC. But at the same time, this dropped in, and the other flank dropped in a touch. Admittedly, we were being a bit more defensive, but you could see structurally there was less of a press coming from the wide areas, and Tanaka started leading that press a little bit more, which I thought was quite interesting. I really sort of enjoyed the idea behind that. Behind Aronson, Gray came on. Gray didn't have time to do much, but because he's Harry Gray, he gets a 10. Because that's just the way the world works, and if you don't like it, then that's not my problem. Did Gudmundsson get to come off? I don't think he did. No, I think Gudmundsson did the full 90. Did Ampadu come off? I'm going to recheck the lineups. Okay, Gudmundsson didn't come off. Byram came on for Schmidt. Stack came off for Tanaka. Piru for Mecha. Biol came on for Stroke, so he did, yeah. Biol was a weird one. I'm going to give him a flat, not 6, 7. Because I think he was a bit Strauchy in that you didn't notice him too much. He made the occasional error, but I don't know. Millier seemed a bit clumsy again. Going to go 6.7. Because he wasn't... That long stuff is starting to feel quite low. And that Melier, as a result, feels quite high. But Melier, it feels like against more vicious strikers would have had bigger problems. I know that it's the world in which we didn't play against bigger strikers and better strikers, but I think his highlight of the half, for me, I will try and find it on YouTube, actually. Leeds versus Villarreal. Highlights. I'm going to try... Shitting hell. I'm going to try and find their goal. Which was second half, fairly early. Right, okay. I think the best thing Ilham Melier did all match was the save that he's about to make now. That, onto the bar, is a fucking good stop. And I think we need to defend that a little bit better. However, it did feel a lot of times like we were just playing ourselves into danger. That first stop is fantastic, but there's nothing that he can do about the second one, which is a little bit of a shame, because he did what he could. But I don't know. Malay's max a 3. I don't know, max a 3. Like, I think to be a 3, you've got to be awful. You're all clueless if you think Aronson is good. Right, hear me out. Maybe, just maybe, if of the 45 votes so far, 46 votes so far, 45 of them are saying he was either good or man of the match, and one of them is saying that he was bloody awful. Maybe you've got a bias problem that you need to look into. Because, holy hell, there's a little bit of bias going on there, my guy. That's... yeah. Strikers can't score goals when they're not getting any supply, no matter how good they are. Yeah, I think that's why we had the Farke comments after the fact. I feel that's why Daniel Farke afterwards was like, the attack's not good enough yet. And we know that, which is why we are, again, trying to sign Paisha, why we're looking all over the place. But a morning, not an overly reassuring performance. I'm on the other side of that, to be honest. I am very genuinely on the side of this Villarreal side, like 3 months ago, beat Barcelona. A very, very good Barcelona, who won La Liga, if I remember right. I think they did, yeah. Yeah, they won the Liga by 4 points. And Villarreal did what they could to make that race for the title interesting. Down to the last day. Came 5th in the league. They were only beaten by 8 teams. They got 70 points. Level on points with 4th. Comfortably in the Champions League by 10. That's not bad. And the fact that that's the level of opposition that we're putting up, A, a draw against, but B, a match where I felt in terms of performance we were better than them, but additionally we probably should have had a penalty. Again, if it's a competitive match, I actually give a shit about that. But when you're examining performances and stuff, it's fine. Beat Liverpool 4-0, did they? Let's have a look. Are you sure? When? I don't know. Joe, could you do a video on attackers you'd like us to sign? I might do. I'm kind of tempted to. The issue is, when it comes to videos that feature mainly opinion, those tend to do not very good. Whereas videos that do news tend to do a little bit better. So this is why I tend to, like, when it comes to opinion stuff, I'll do it stream time rather than video time. Because videos, this is stupid YouTube back-end stuff, videos you kind of got to push really, really, really hard to make sure that they actually do something. And if you don't optimize everything about them, they flop. Which is, again, a bit of a pain. Because all of the high-effort videos that I do, and like the quizzes, and one that I am planning coming up as another example, which is going to be absolutely fantastic, but it won't do views. Because it's not transfer news. So when it comes to like opinion-based content, I tend to I save that for streams. Because you guys are the guys that like being here for a little bit of more natter. So when should we have had a pen? It was at some point, I can't remember. I think someone... Oh, it was on the side that we weren't closest to, so it was probably in the first half. I can't remember. Good morning, CB. How do you do? I assume Gary's rage bait. That's the thing, like, most of the time, I can recognise the rage bait accounts, because they tend to rage bait consistently, but I don't recognise Gary as a rage baiter. So unless Gary's just having a dreadful take, well, maybe. I don't know. Goodmanson pushed in the back after chesting. Oh, I remember now, yeah. It's one of those where I couldn't remember the specifics, but I remember being really mad. So, there we go. Out of interest, let's not go into that. Come on. AC Milan have been on fire in pre-season. Have they? Let's have a look. Also, we're not entirely sure what the AC Milan side that we'll play against will look like, because they are split between playing against us and playing against Chelsea, which is going to make things a little bit complicated and a little bit annoying, but that's fine. AC Milan's friendlies. Yeah, fair enough. Lost to Arsenal, but they beat Liverpool 4-2, and then they put Perth Glory down 9-0. So they're quite good. I don't think Aronson's good enough to start for us regularly in the Premier League. However, as an emergency option in the event that Dan James isn't available, that's fine. And we will be making more moves anyway. I think that the middle of midfield that we saw in the first half is the midfield that we will see going forwards. Or at least until someone gets injured or someone gets dropped. I think I wouldn't have minded swapping out in the first half Tanaka for Longstaff, just because I think Tanaka is good enough. But complex, I think. Joe, is it just me, or do the bulk of Leeds fans expect too much? It was a friendly against a top Spanish side, and we held them comfortably. I think we were pretty damn good. Like, I think that we were the better side in that match. I think that we were fairly comfy throughout. Yes, they applied bits of pressure here and there, but we dealt with it. And we dealt with it really effectively. So I'm not too mad at that. Yeah, this is the good question. Like, all of the people that are saying that we need to get Aronson out, would you rather have Brendan Aronson, who has played a hell of a lot of football, or Sam Chambers on the bench? I'm going to stick with Aronson. Because Aronson has the experience to deal with those complex situations. Aronson has played in the Premier League before. Tanaka has to replace Longstaff. I don't know, I think Longstaff might be playing his way back to knowing a system, whereas Tanaka can just slot in there because he knows the system. There's the difference for me. I don't see him as a problem as long as he isn't a 10. Just the last 15 minutes. Yeah, for me, he won't play as a 10. At least much. But there is a reasonable chance that he does come off the bench a bit. I don't think we really play as a 10 anyway. We won't have a 10 because neither system that we played with yesterday used a number 10. We had the 4-1-4-1 that we saw in the second half, and we had the sort of 4-3-3 thing that we saw in the first half. And both of them, I think, were reasonably good systems. I think we looked better with the first, but then again, for the second half, you've massively changed your lineup. You're against a varying team. The ground becomes wobbly, and this is a stupid metaphor, but it's a metaphor that I'm going to go with. I would rather fight a boxer in an earthquake than out of an earthquake, because it adds variables. And I think the increased variables that we dealt with in that second half probably made the 4-1-4-1 look a little bit worse than it was, but then again, it still didn't look too bad. So who knows? I have European level coaching badges and have managed at a good level. Cool, Daniel Farke's managed in the Premier League. So... And to be fair, like, to counter that, I've got FA scouting badges. That doesn't mean that I'm especially good, it just means that I've done the qualification. Strike wasn't good, played a few poor balls, putting others under pressure. He looked like he had the occasional wobble. I wouldn't say he was especially bad. Like, no one screamed out as awful yesterday, except early Schmidt. And Schmidt was a bit... Yeah, I think as long as currently we're in a position where we're using our squad depth, and we're using it pretty effectively, and we've got squad depth. That's what I quite like. Because 2 seasons ago, when it came down to the promotion fight around Easter, and it was consistently like, well, Ruter's got to come back, because we don't really have the players elsewhere for Ruter to not come back. And he came back early, and he came back injured, and it caused more problems. And now we've got the depth to not need to do that. Now we've got the depth to say that, I think it was Dan James yesterday maybe, that was a little bit of an injury concern. He had like a little strain or a knock or a pull or something along those lines. But we don't need to play him, because we've got Aronson who can play in the wide areas. So it kind of worked out. Piru's looked awesome in pre-season. He has, which I think is going to make it interesting, because I think Metcher's not looked bad either. Like, Metcher I've given a 6.8, but that's mainly because he was invisible for parts, but then again, we weren't getting the ball forward to him, because we weren't progressing it that effectively. So I don't know. We lost a lot of goals and assists in return. Somerville, have we replaced them? We're kind of in the process of replacing them. We did last season with Solomon significantly, with Firpo, who got a lot of assists. I think we've replaced Firpo fairly effectively. Gudmundsson seems to be a system-for-system equivalent, and he can take set pieces, which I don't mind too much. He's very, very good on corners. Can we please stop beefing in the chat for like 10 minutes? Please, let's be nice and chill. We're good. But we still need a winger, for me. I think if our options on the wings are James, Nonto, Ramazani, Aronson, we're going to cause ourselves more harm than good. Whereas if we can add someone to that and then say, Aronson, you can play on the inside, but if you're needed desperately, fine, you can play on the wing. Sure. And I think we could do with a 9 as well. Because Piru is still a deadly finisher. Like, at the end of the day, the goal is the goal. But I think having that little bit more attacking impetus, that'll be a game changer. Am I missing something here? We stepped up from playing the likes of Cardiff, Plymouth and Sheffield Wednesday to giving Villarreal a good game. No, I think we did genuinely very well. I'm not entirely sure where a lot of the fears come from with a lot of people. With like, some folks are in a little bit of a spooked state where it's like, oh, I don't know, we're not looking too comfy right now. And it's like, well, I'm feeling fine. I'm not really seeing that much of a threat to us at the moment. Back would be a good signing. I think back would be a quite good signing. And again, I'm not sure it's fair to say there's no creativity in the squad. Because if you look at the squad, we did create a goal, and you're gonna hate that I say this, right? And I'm gonna say it very quietly so you don't get mad at me, Gary. The goal was created by Brendan Aronson. Sorry. But there is creativity in the squad. A lot of the creativity was injured. Like Bogle, out injured. James, out injured. And let's not forget, by the way, that this is a complete change of our right-hand side. Like, Schmidt in for Bogle is a downgrade. At least at the moment. I think like if Schmidt is on form and clearly ready and his head's in it, he'll do fantastic things. But it's not at the moment. On the right-hand side, Aronson, he did pretty fucking well. But he's not Dan James. They're very different players. And I think completely transforming the way that our right-hand side worked is always going to throw you off a little bit. And I think that we dealt with that pretty effectively. Yeah, I mean, 2 draws out of Scum and Villarreal. That's pretty nice. I'm not going to lie to you. I will absolutely take that. Elkanus would be a good creative option. I think I agree. But from what I've seen of him, he's more progressive 8 than he is a straight-up 10. I don't know. I think we need someone that can progress the ball effectively and create the chances, and we also need someone that can put the chances away. It's created by a deflection falling to... Right, okay. So if we're just doing lies then, if that's what we're doing today, if we're just lying to each other... Shut up. There we go. Let's just... If we're just not accepting objective reality, then we'll just have to give this a look, I think. That's that button. Ball to Aronson. It's a bad first touch, sure. But he puts in the effort, gets to the second ball, touches it past his man, which is a very nice bit of football, by the way. Pings it in. That's a very fucking dangerous ball. There is no way on earth that you can tell me that that is a bad cross. Comes in. Takes a dodgy touch, sure. But Piru's on the end of it. And the important part is, right, if I pause it here. If this ball comes across anywhere in this area, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 players lined up to put it home. They've got 1, 2, we'll call the goalkeeper a third, because I'll be kind to you. Balance of probability, that ball's landing with a Leeds United player, regardless. So to take the idea that he put that chance on a plate for a Leeds player away is just you trying to fuel that little bit of an agenda. And I think you could do with maybe looking inside a little bit and thinking, why do I hate Brendan Aronson? Do I actually hate Brendan Aronson? Or am I stubborn enough to be in a position where I just want to be mad at him? Because it's a weird take to have, my guy. To say that Brendan Aronson doesn't create this chance from this point. From here, where he's taken a pretty bad touch. To say that the credit for getting the ball into the box isn't on him is baffling. Because that's a really fucking nice touch. Takes it past, pings it in, as a go, bosh. If you're saying that that chance isn't created by Brendan Aronson, then all you want to hear is your own opinion reflected back to you. That's it. And 97% of people in the chat disagree. It's nuts. Harrison's come on, words. Harrison's wages are going to kill a lot of potential interest. I think that is a bit of a risk of Jack Harrison. Yeah. So Harrison, we know, is an all right player on his day, but he's not a 90 grand a week player. And I think I was considering the other month, I don't know. I was considering at one point recently doing a video that was like the end of Orta's legacy or something like that. That would cover like the fact that Victor Orta isn't causing us financial damage anymore. But he is. He's a rat and always will be a rat. What are you talking about? He came back and helped get us promoted. Like, in terms of the things to do that make you ratty, I feel like coming back to a championship club when you have the option to leave, that doesn't count. Been more impressed by the approach to this window than any before. It's been measured and calculated. The attack was the strongest part of the squad, so only 10, 9, and winger. Yeah, I think building from the back is a very, very promising start, and it showed yesterday. We limited their chances. We didn't have to make too many great saves with our goalkeepers. And I'll be completely honest with you, I think Lucas Perry would dominate his box a little bit more than Meslier did, and therefore probably not nearly kill Gabriel Gudmundsson. Yeah. I'm feeling very okay about our chances next season after yesterday. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a very quick other poll. Based on... So using only the information we have right now, do we stay up this season? Simple yes, no. That's it. And whilst you're voting, by the way, pop a like on the stream. That would be appreciated. Thank you. What about Farke's comments? Covered that towards the start, but I will go to Baron Cross's Twitter feed to discuss all of them in a little bit more detail. Let's zoom in a bit. Bosh. Cool. It's F11U. That one at U. Right, okay, let's go one by one. So, neither of them, Bamford and Joseph, is in my plans right now. Can't predict a move before the window closes, so it doesn't know where they're going and all this kind of stuff. It's not too much about numbers. Many strikers doesn't help you because you only play with one. It's clear in all offensive roles we need reinforcements. So it feels like Matteo and Bamford out, another number 9 in, is my theory. Can we have a not enough evidence yet caption? No, I'm trying to force you into bad takes. Let's be reactionary for once. Perry is with us since the end of training camp. Light injuries, no team training, few days of rehab. First days were difficult for him after signing. Back in goalkeeping training in the last few days. Tomorrow and next week he'll be back in team training. So Lucas Perry, very, very nearly back. Don't mind that. Bogle had a problem with his hip flexor, which is not great. He's a doubt for Milan, which I think maybe says that we keep an eye out for another fullback, because again, Farke is saying that we need quality there. Outstanding last season, good pre-season so far. He'll miss more training, which isn't great. I think we don't see him against AC Milan. I think if we do see him, it'll be Everton. James had light problems during this week, didn't want to risk anything. Expect him back next weekend, so he'll play against AC Milan. Jack had every session and game since after the camp, struggling with adductor problems now. Wait for the scan consultant on Monday. My thinking on the Jack Harrison thing is they didn't want to affect the good vibes of the new signings with the bad vibes of Jack Harrison. Which, kind of wise, because I think Jack Harrison is in a position where the vibes are not going to be brilliant. But I, again, think it's borderline madness to potentially have his return to the squad and return to Elland Road be when Everton play against Leeds, where everyone is going to boo him. That's going to be bold. That's a brave move. We lost our standout player from the second half of last season, Manor Solomon. It's clear we need additions in attack. Daniel is his Spanish twin. James and Jack Harrison had little issues making them unavailable, which again we've gone through. Started with Ethan, Anton and Sean as the midfield set. Mixed it up in the second half. It's important to be flexible, so we know that we're going to have lots of options. We're going to potentially change formations, all this kind of stuff. Not too many offensive options as it stands, hence losing 2 wingers. Wanted to test it out. We controlled the midfield in periods. Against the ball, we could have been more aware of chip balls and run-ins behind. Again, it's good to learn these things now. And then good shift against good side. Wanted to have the feeling of being back here. Important for the new signings. Quality we'll face very often. We showed we're capable today. Mixed teams, etc., etc., etc. Ultimately, I think Daniel Farke's look is, I need a bit more, which is fair enough because we absolutely do need a little bit more, especially when it comes to those attacking areas, because the penetrative abilities aren't fantastic right now. It's a little bit on the weaker side, which is probably okay, but we'll get there. That's what counts. This Leeds team doesn't stay up currently. I think currently it doesn't do too badly. Currently it's in the fight. Add a couple of key players, add a striker, add a winger, and I'm a lot more comfy. I think Burnley are already ready to go down. They've lost Trafford, they've lost Brownhill, they've lost Egan Riley, and they've not really effectively replaced them. And their incoming players like Marcus Edwards and Jadon Anthony are players that they had to keep rather than they chose to keep. So I think in terms of quality, they are in deep, deep shit. Whereas we've had a little bit more freedom, which is good. Like, we've had the flexibility to sign what we need to sign, and we'll get there. We're not there right now, but that's because it takes time, and I'm okay with it. I would still take Solomon back. I think I would, yeah. I think there are players that I'd prefer, like Paisho I would have vastly preferred, but everyone at the moment is acting like Solomon is a bad player or something, when we saw last season that he's pretty damn good. Not even just a he's good on his day kind of deal. It's he's good. I think we're exploring other options first, and then if we still need a winger, then we'll revisit Solomon. But there was a bit of a damning indictment for Manor Solomon in a recent Spurs friendly where I believe Thomas Frank went through all of his options on the wings and he didn't even mention Manor Solomon. So it feels like he's moving, but it's a question of where. Brentford, Everton and Burnley are definitely struggling. Everton have a hilariously thin squad right now, which is going to cause them problems. Brentford have lost key players. They've lost their manager. Not in a good spot. I don't know. It's a challenge. I think if we fill the fullback, we fill the left winger, and we fill the striker, then we do better. But Joe, Burnley recruited Kyle Walker, a top signing. I know, I'm terrified by the 35-year-old Kyle Walker. Whatever will we do? How will we possibly face down the Kyle Walker threat at fullback for Burnley? I don't think we'll be able to deal with that. I think it's going to be nightmarish. That will be 1,000% okay dealing with Kyle Walker. I think Kyle Walker having to deal with Dan James is going to be the funniest thing I've ever seen. Because his pace is slowly going away from him. And that just lets us put more and more and more and more and more pressure on him. Which is lovely. I like it. Okay. Are they on the limit of PSR? I don't know. I know they're fairly comfy in terms of PSR, or they were at the start of the window. It depends on things like payment structures and all that kind of stuff. I think the fact they've sold Bellingham has definitely helped them. They got something like 40 million in for that. If you spread that over 5-year contracts, that's about £200 million they can spend right there. which ain't half bad. Admittedly, they would need to back it up in coming seasons as well, but that's helped to secure the PSR position a little bit. Walker's way past his best, absolutely he is, which means that I don't think we're in as much danger as like some people see the big name and they go, I don't know how we handle this. But at the end of the day, he's not that great anymore, is he? Villarreal predicted to finish 7th this season in the league. Are they? By whom? Let's have a look. La Liga predictions. I think La Liga kicks off the season after, not season, the week after the Premier League. Scott Parker nailed on first sacking of the signing again. I mean, maybe. I think there's a pretty strong chance for Keith Andrews as well. Is it Keith Andrews? It might be Keith Andrews. I don't know. No, I don't see anyone having made like a straight up La Liga predicted table 25, 26. Like, regardless, the top 3 are going to be Madrid, Barca, Atletico. Potentially Bilbao are in that conversation. But I don't know. I can see Villarreal doing reasonably. Hard to say. You think Tanganga won't be? We've got 2 new centre-backs in. We don't need another centre-back. And I think there's probably a reason that we won't have triggered that clause anyway, and that's because he's not the best. Again, I think the Tanganga thing is another case of people recognise his name from when he was coming through and follow up by going, therefore, he's probably a good player now. When in reality, let's have a look at what... Give me a sofa score, why not? Let's have a look at how he did last season. Whereas last season, yeah, he averaged a 7.06. But that's not incredible, I think. Brownhill, maybe. But I think it's more a case of we'll look in the wide areas, we'll look at the striker as the priorities. West Ham fans are having a meltdown with inactivity. Everton fans the same. Brentford selling all their players, same as Bournemouth. Us, Sunderland and Burnley with Wolves. That's the bottom 8 if we stay up. I think we stay up. That's how I'm feeling. Hard to say. If Leeds are struggling near the bottom at Christmas, will the 49ers sack Farke? And if they do, who do you want to... It depends on what you mean by struggling. If they are just flat bottom, then I think he goes before Christmas. Then I think it's probably second international break. But if it's... we're 16th and it's a very, very tight fight, I don't think you want to mess with the momentum. Where are we going to finish in the Premier League this season? I'm going to go with 15th at the moment. I think we do just enough to make it. Because I don't think we've got the worst side in the Premier League. I think looking around the Premier League, there are significantly worse teams than us right now. Confident we'll give bottom half Prem teams a game and a few surprises. We'll be fine. That's my thinking as well. What people don't mention is that if a couple of fullbacks play, then it means our whole style will be put on hold. Bogle's integral to how we play. Yeah, that's why I think we're looking at another. So, like, Byram isn't Bogle, obviously. But at the same time, on the other flank, we've got an attacking fullback. So is it just a case of, will you just pay attention the other way around? I don't know. We'll be okay, but it depends on attackers coming in through the door. Yeah. I don't know if Sunderland hit 15th, though. Sunderland have had a decent window. But it's one where if it goes wrong, it goes very wrong. I think one of the biggest mistakes they might have made is giving Xhaka the captaincy. Because I wouldn't have done that at all. I think if you're making a new signing the captain, you need to be certain about it, especially when you've got big personalities in there like 09. Beat Burnley twice, Sunderland twice, Brentford, West Ham, Wolves. There's 7 wins, only need 3 more. That's true. Why is Leeds United fan base is multicultural and diverse? Well, because people are, and people like football teams, and that's how it works. Anyway, I've got work very, very soon. I told myself I'd do a stream pre-work, and here we are. So, bish, bash, and indeed, bosh. I'm going to head off at that. Hope you enjoyed the stream, but though, if you did, please pop a like on it. That's always massively appreciated. It's currently at 74, so having 100 would be wonderful. Subscribe if you haven't yet as well. That's always absolutely fantastic. Really helps the channel come along. And if you're not a YouTube channel member, maybe consider it. It's $2.99 a month. It helps me to do this a little bit more often and consistently, and is genuinely very, very helpful to being able to do this more often and financially viably. But anyway, hope you all enjoyed the stream, and I will see you guys later. Toodaloo.